This is Athena Jezik, and this will be the last one we'll be able to do today. So I thought what I would do, I talked so much about tissue unwinding that I thought I would show a little bit of how I unwind the tissues in the arms, the shoulders particularly, and how it might look from observing it, how the arm will move. This is not massage technique per se, this is an unwinding technique. A lot of it is stuff that works for me. I've had some training in it, but a lot of it is just getting your hands on things and finding how it can be best translated. So to start with, what I usually do is get the hands underneath the top of the thoracic vertebrae, like about C7, T1, T2, and across the clavicles here. It's a little bit of an unwinding, just a relaxing thing. There's a diaphragm along there. It probably would work a little bit better if I got down to probably about T5 or 6, and that my hands spread upward from there, and then holding my hand across the clavicles. And there's just going to be a little bit of relaxation here. This is a hold, very light hold. Just letting the tissues kind of swim around and reorganize themselves. And wait for that to happen. And it lets the muscles of the shoulders and neck relax a bit. And it's if you try this, you're going to notice that you'll feel quite a bit going on under your hands. If you're not pushing too hard, you'll feel more activity the lighter that you are on the body. Okay, and then when it feels like it's done a little bit of movement and it feels fluid in there, then you can bring your hand out. And the next thing that I'm going to do here is go under right at the top edge of the scapula and check for a range of motion with the shoulder in that direction and in that direction. You notice that I've got a hold of the whole arm. It's moving with the whole arm. I think the thing that's most important to realize when you're doing any kind of range of motion, that you have an understanding about what the other joints are doing, or the range that they do, or how they have to adjust in order to get the movement of a particular joint that you want. A lot of people's elbows are tighter or looser. Some people have had broken elbows. They don't always extend. That's a hinge joint, just like the leg. This is like the ankle, the movement in the wrist, and then you have the hinge joint. And so all the movement from the elbow that's going out is going to be moved primarily from the shoulder, although there is the bones in the forearm that will allow the flipping over and back, but there's no movement in the elbow joint itself for that movement. So now that I feel that it's fairly loose and the person on the table isn't fighting the movement, there's always the people that get on the table that want to help you, but it really doesn't help because you want the muscles just totally in a relaxed stage where they're not moving on their own, they're not even helping. What I do here then is I'll do a stretch where I get my hands placed at the wrist and do a full stretch where I'm pulling mostly on the fascial structures, and I'm pulling outward and down, giving a nice stretch this way, pulling up and through. Okay. I'm doing some shaking. Now you can feel where there might be some, now here there's some traction, and then you can feel where there's going to be restriction. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to give a little traction, and I'm going to let the arm begin to move itself if there's any unwinding that has to be done at the fascial level, or down into some of the connective tissue that's around. And you can see the wrist is rolling inward. This is a motion that I'm following. It's not one that I'm leading. And now the joint of the shoulder is coming into it. Sometimes I'm doing this with adults in their legs, and it gets very heavy at times for the therapist, so a lot of body mechanics. A lot of times I have people leaning into my body, and my body is actually doing a lot of the movement behind it, because legs can get very heavy, particularly when they're moving into strange patterns. Now this is all pretty much following the movement that her arm needs to do in order to do some unwinding. This would be things that have been wound up a little bit from movement of daily movement. The repetitive motion that we find ourselves into. Taking that around. When you get real proficient at this and you know what you're doing, you can actually feel the way that the muscles are gonna take it before it happens. But it's not a leading. You'd never lead, you always follow. And there's not a lot of traction on there, just enough to give a little pull. And then back to the stretch. Now here it's winding again. And check the clavicle. The muscles are there. Is that okay? And same thing, just let it be. And give a stretch. And as you can see, this arm is doing different things than the other arm, which is why it's good to treat the body parts with their own personalities, because they do different things. There's different movements from each side of the body in lifting boxes, in doing computer work. So to do the same exact thing on both sides isn't always going to let things go. The tissue unwinding can also bring in some emotional things. I've seen a lot, especially when the legs and the other parts of the body start getting involved in the unwinding process. And to do this sort of stuff does take quite a bit of strength from the therapist's point of view. The arm isn't so bad. It's not real heavy, although it can be. And there seems to be some finger unwinding. Sometimes when you do this, if you're gentle with it, in fact, I felt a little, you'll get some alignment in the wrist bones. It's not an intended alignment, but sometimes just opening it up like that, having a little traction that's a little more forceful, but not much, you'll find that there's oftentimes will give a little pop for you. Okay, and then you can always tell how well these shoulders are doing by the levelness of them. And what you can see here possibly is a little rolling upward of the shoulder. So to take the scapula and have the scapula roll down and under, flatten that out a little bit more. Take the scapula down and under. Roll that shoulder down a little bit more. And then you can give a nice stretch this way where it's kind of an outward and downward, very gently, and you also are rolling backward and get that scapula to stretch, and then it's an outward. So it's an outward and downward and backward and then outward. And it's not done with a lot of force, it's just done with enough to engage the muscle. Putting the chin on the line, and it looks pretty good. So that's a little tissue unwinding. Just very good for the joint, very good for the relaxation and feeling a little more mobile, a little more fluid. Check out my website and scroll down to the videos for more embedded work. Thank you.